Hello, hello, what's good? I technically already made this video, fully edited it, and posted it, but I've decided after the fact that I overcomplicated things and over-explained. I have actually written down the points that I'm trying to make, and I hope to be more succinct this time. So, what are we doing today? I have been in the process of working on a new monologue and preparing it for myself, and I realized that there isn't a lot of resources on YouTube on how to prepare a monologue. Plenty of resources on how to perform a monologue, but that is not the whole thing. Memorizing it alone is not preparing it. That is what we are here to talk about. A reference, I learned all of these methods and techniques from high school. I was in a drama academy for all 4 years of high school, and I learned this from my teacher. So this is me remembering 6 years after graduating high school. Just keep in mind that I did not come up with this in the first place. I'm also sure that many of you, other actors, have different techniques, different methods. Feel free to let me know in the comments. I'm always down to learn something new, see if something else works with me, experiment a little bit. So feel free to let me know. I'm gonna use a monologue that I have been preparing as a reference. So in this video, I will be going over my general 8 steps, my methods for how to prepare a monologue step by step. Hopefully making that a lot more clear than I did last time. A little warning, there is no right or wrong way to prepare a monologue as long as you just do it. Memorizing it alone is not preparing it. As long as you do something beyond that, you're set. There is no right or wrong answer. So let's start with step 1. Step 1 is separating the monologue into chunks. This really helps with memorization, which is why I do this before I even start to fully memorize it. If I can separate the main points, themes, changes in subject that my character is actively talking about, it becomes a lot easier to break down the sections that I'm memorizing at a time. Generally, I go for anywhere from as low to 3 to as many as 10, depending on how long the monologue is. It's a minute-long monologue. There's usually about 4 or 5 chunks of changes. Using the monologue that I'm working with right now as an example, I separated it into 5 chunks. I didn't even think about that. 5 chunks, which is about average. People don't talk for a minute straight usually about the exact same thing with the exact same feelings, so it shouldn't be too hard. Time for step 2, memorizing. Many people are going to think that this is all that you have to do in order to prepare a monologue, but that is not true. It is simply the first step. If you know all the words, all you have prepared is the words. That's kind of my opinion, but it's also just kind of true. So, my main tips are writing it down on paper, physically writing out the full monologue on paper. I say this because it's gonna allow you to notice specific wording a lot more, which helps with memorization. When they use the word the instead of or when they say maybe instead of sorta, it's gonna be a lot easier to initially connect. My second piece of advice for memorizing, it kind of sucks, and it's a little bit of a buzzkill if it's anything like how I first reacted to it, but it does help in the long run. It is memorizing without feeling. Let me explain. Oftentimes actors, when they memorize a piece, will just apply their initial perspective on what the emotional changes are and then give certain changes in tone as they are memorizing it. Don't act yet. Just know the words like a robot. Just by rote, verbatim, know exactly what they are saying without feeling. It sucks a little bit in the process. It makes it take slightly longer to memorize if you're anything like me. However, later in the process when you're switching around tactics, which I'll get to explaining, it's going to be generally a lot easier to play around with the piece later on if you don't have a set emotive state in mind. Once you have the words down pat, then you can start preparing. This is when you get into the meat and potatoes of the whole thing. Step 3, where and to who? Where exactly geographically is this conversation taking place? You're going to be speaking a little differently if you're in a public coffee shop or just outside the library than you will if you're, for example, sitting in the driver's seat of your car parked in the driveway at night. Depending on where you are, And it doesn't even have to be a part of the scene. You knowing where you are will make what you are deciding to do in the scene way more rich. Second part of this is to who. Who are you talking to? This is a popular opinion, but still annoying when you're first starting out looking at monologues that are often just people talking to the stars. But even if the monologue is meant to be that way, you have to pick who you are talking to. Is it your friend? Is it your mom? Is it your boyfriend? Is it your ex-boyfriend? Like, all of those things will change how you deliver the line. It is really crucial to know. Like, for example, in my monologue, I was not given a location, and I was not given who I'm talking to, because it is not from a play. Something that I found, honestly, it was from a YouTube short that I transcribed, but it works as a monologue, and hey, it. In this monologue, I made the choice that I am speaking to a friend of mine that is less experienced in what I'm talking about than I am. So it's sort of like a teaching thing. In terms of location, it's completely up in the air, and I could make any choice that I want. Just pick something. I chose to have it be outside of a bar because I figured, hey, if there's people around, that can make a more interesting choice. Step 4, what and why? What exactly does your character want? Throughout the whole show, but especially throughout the whole scene. It will help you a whole lot to know deep down what they are working towards. What are they motivated towards throughout the whole show, throughout the whole scene? What is making them tick? What is pushing them to make actions in the first place? Like before, you can make something up if it is a monologue that is not from something that gives you that answer. Just so long as you are aware of what you want, it's going to help your performance. Why do they want it at all? Is it for their own sake? Is it for selfish reasons? Is it something that they're ashamed to want? Or is it something they're proud to want? Alongside having the motivation of knowing what you want, why you want it can also differentiate how intense you are being in your tactics. Say the what is, I want to be respected. If the why is just, I don't feel respected enough, it's not necessarily juicy enough to make interesting choices with. You could also go along the lines of, oh, what I want is to be respected more. Why? Because I had this super traumatic past where I had huge disrespectful moments of people being abusive as shit towards me. That motivates me more and makes different choices than the first. You know what I mean? Step 5, tactics and beats. This is the big one. This one will most likely take you the most amount of time in the whole process of preparing a monologue, but it's so worth it. So what exactly are tactics in an acting sense? Tactics are the specific choices that your character is making moment by moment to achieve what they want out of the other person that they are speaking to in the scene. Sort of get something out of them. The best way to describe it is just by giving examples, honestly. You're gonna have to pick verbs, but not just any verb. The best tactics that you can pick from are tactics that are describing an action. So the tactic being, I'm trying to complain, is a little bit weaker than the tactic, which has a similar meaning but a different delivery, of I am trying to challenge the other person. Ideally, your tactic is what you are trying to do to the other person in that moment. It's a little hard to know exactly a good list of tactics. What I do is I'll just Google acting tactics, and there's plenty of lists up giving good examples of things that are active in the scene. Here's an example of a list right here. I didn't make this, so. It is directly related to the what and the why, so it's good to have done that first. And in terms of separating beats, similar to chunks, beats are going to be separating sections of the monologue, but it's not as broad as chunks. Beats are going to be moments where the tactic changes. Anytime your character goes from trying to convince the other person to maybe now trying to teach them something, that is a change in beat. An example in my own monologue of this, because it's a little harder to fully grasp at first. So there's one point at the very beginning where I say, oh, this is how men will speak to you, and at first it feels great. You're like, oh, wow, this is pretty nice. And then you start to live a little, and you get reference for what the specific words they're using on you mean. It's the specific point in the sentence where I say, and then you start to live a little. that is the change in beat, because I am changing what I am trying to say in that exact moment to the other person. Go from relating to warning. That is a beat change. Also, generally, I recommend that you pick anywhere from 2 to 4 different tactics that you could use per beat, because when you're practicing later on, trying to switch out things, like maybe you're going through the monologue and just this one section feels a little artificial. It feels clunky. Change the tactic and see if it works better. Step 6, biggest change. This is a smaller step that comes near the end, but I do find it to be pretty important. What is the biggest change from beginning to end? It could be a change in emotions. It could be a change in what your character is aware of. Them getting what they want versus not getting what they want, and knowing that versus not knowing that by the end. You know, like, it makes a more dynamic monologue if there is a beginning point and an end point that are not the exact same. Like I said before, people often are not just talking about the same thing for a minute straight. Usually some subject changes or new information is revealed. That is something that is very important to nail down. Step 7, where do you come from? Emotionally speaking, we already went over location, but where is your character coming from as they enter the scene? Have they had a rough day and are already in a bad mood? Or did they just wake up 20 minutes ago and they're still half asleep? The first moment of your monologue is very important, and I think it often gets kind of brushed away because you're still in the momentum of trying to find where your emotive state is at and waiting for a tactic change, maybe to feel the character. But if you establish already where your character is coming from emotionally, the start of the scene is going to be a lot easier. Finally, step 8, practicing it with the different options. Once you've established your character and who they are talking to and where they are and how they're going to get what they want and what they want, then you can finally start practicing. This is another reason why in the second step of memorization, I recommend doing it without emotions, is because while in the practice stage, you can switch different tactics around, you can change how you deliver something. Maybe I'm angry now, and originally when I first read it, I thought I'd be emotional, sad. If you memorize it with the feelings, it's gonna be a lot harder to switch them up after the fact. So that is all of my steps, 1 through 8. I hope that helped. I won't go fully into the process of practicing a monologue. I gave a couple tips here, but that's going to be a separate video. I hope y'all learned something new. Once again, let me know if you know any other methods or changes to methods I've already mentioned in the comments below. I'd love to learn more. Now it's time for me to actually memorize this. Wish me luck. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.